In five, four, three, two, one. Thanks for listening to the Android Experience podcast. This is a show where we keep you posted on what's new in the world of Google and Android and share our experiences with the platform. This is episode 22 on Thursday, March 2nd, 2017. I'm your host, Patrick Bergadamo, and I'm joined by my co-host, Bill Stebbins. What's up, Bill?
We're back.
Woohoo! And we'll end the show with some really good news, but we'll save that for later.
Yeah, that was a teaser. That, as we say in the business, is a teaser. Stay tuned.
The business.
The business. You know, the business where we make all the millions.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but mine usually says Monopoly on it.
Yeah.
So kind of getting into show notes, it's been kind of a light month. Even with Mobile World Congress, I've kind of yawned at a lot of the things that have come out. But kind of for one of our what's happening on apps, Gmail, and this is kind of a big one for people who don't subscribe to the extra drive stuff. You can now receive, not send, but receive email attachments up to 50 megs.
This is bizarre. You can receive email attachments up to 50 meg, essentially from people who aren't on Google's products, because somebody on Gmail can't send you a 50 meg file.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about Google. So what's 25 meg amongst friends, right?
Although I will say this, I gave this some thought, and I think I know it's kind of sly on Google's part. The reason why you can't send is because the way, if you want to send a file that big, you use Drive, because then you do a Drive link. And so it's Google's way of saying, we'll let you receive it. So it doesn't matter who you get it from. You can get the 50 megs. But if you want to send something big, you better be using Drive, because Drive already lets you attach stuff that's over that size limit to send it to someone.
Yeah.
And I think it's, almost 4 gigs, I think.
Yeah. It's just silly though.
I mean, it at this point, it would make more sense, because at this point you have to send a link to somebody that's a Drive link. They have to click it. If they don't use Drive, they have to go to the link for it and then access the file. Why not just make it 50 both ways?
I mean, exactly. Like, that just doesn't make logical sense.
Well, because I mean, it's not going to affect me for Drive, because there's already bigger files. Like if one of us records the show and sends it to the other for the audio, that's going to be more than 50. So we're using our Drive for that. But it's something under 50, especially routine emails, it would make much more sense to be able to send and receive both ways.
Pretty much.
But I mean, at least we've gotten the first step of the way there. To me, this is almost kind of like most of the internet service providers will give you bajillions of download, but very little upload.
Yep, so, exactly.
So, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, because you can receive up to 50, but we can't let you send that.
Yep. Might break the interwebs.
On more positive note, Google they announced it, and now it's officially starting to roll out. Android Assistant is beginning to roll out to all basically Marshmallow and Nougat devices, anything that's Android 6.0 and above. To me, that's a good thing, because that means some of the older Nexi and things of that stuff will be able to use it, as well as some of those older devices where your carrier or them don't want to let you have updates.
Yeah, the cool thing with this, there's two things that are cool, I think. One, this is a Google Play Services update, so you don't have to wait for an update from anyone other than Google. It's basically a server-side switch that they're going to throw once you have that new Google Play Services. The other thing I noticed, because I was looking at that this morning, my daughter has a Moto G3, and it requires at least 1.5 gig of RAM and a 720p screen. And I'm like, oh, cool. I know she's got a 720p screen. And I started looking up the specs for the Moto G3, and it said 1 gigabyte. And I'm like, wah, wah. Well, then I got to looking further, and I sprung for the 16 gigabyte model for her, which has 2 gigs of RAM. So she's good. She'll have the Assistant, and she uses the heck out of it already with Google Home. So she's going to be super excited to have it on her phone.
Okay, I got to ask now, with Google Assistant and with Google Now, have you tried the I'm Feeling Lucky?
Yes.
I love it. Me and my oldest niece were playing it this past weekend. She's like, wait a minute, you have a whole game show on your phone? Yeah.
Yep. I played it for everybody at work there's only one guy on my team that uses Android besides me, and they all thought it was amazing.
You know what it reminds me of? You Don't Know Jack.
Yeah.
Which I was so disappointed when you couldn't play those games anymore once they updated to the newer Windows, because The Ride was my favorite video game of all time, especially where it would suddenly start changing your name when you type it in, or if you put an inappropriate name, it would be like, sorry, and maybe you can grow up and play better, and then it would just shut the game down. I was like, that's awesome. And this is back in the day before we had cool stuff we have now. But I mean, it's cool. I will say this. I played around with some of the different things that you can do, the Easter eggs with Google Assistant, with Android Assistant. I will say one thing that I will give props to Siri is the whole tie-in with Lego Batman. I mean, it's still kind of cool. I mean, it gets old, but that's kind of the thing that would be nice to see at some point on ours. And for listeners don't know,
I've never used Siri on my Mac ever.
But there's a Easter egg right now with Siri, because basically in the Lego Batman movie, Siri plays the Bat computer. If you tell Siri and say, "Hey, Pewter," like computer, "Hey, Pewter," it'll do like 28 different sayings from the movie where the Bat computer speaks to Lego Batman.
That's interesting.
It's kind of cool. I mean, it's as far as the Easter eggs go, it's kind of cool. I mean, it's still not as cool as having your own game show, but it's always cool when things get interactions to movies.
Yeah.
So speaking of Google Play services, Google is now taking registration requests for people who want to be beta testers for Google Play services and Gboard. I haven't signed up yet. Did you?
Yeah, you can do it right in the update screen. So if you search for Gboard, one of the things they rolled out a little bit ago in the Play Store was every app that has a public beta, if you scroll to the bottom, there's a link to join it. So I went ahead and did that.
I mean, that's one. I've noticed one thing: the updates for beta and stuff have been nice. I mean, I know a lot of us signed up for it to force the updates originally for when Nougat was first hitting out. It was an easy way to force it to come through. So I mean, it's always nice that we don't have to wait for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Android Pay, it's one we've kind of tracked over time. My banks finally all are supported, but they've added another 30 or so banks, which now gives them over 600 banks that support Android Pay, which to me is a good thing. Now, if we just need more stores to all support it. Although I've seen more and more now supporting it and Apple Pay. So to me, it's nothing greater than not having to pull out your wallet and just tap your phone.
Yep.
Speaking of apps that I still don't understand the purpose of them, Allo had an update which supposedly makes it easier to access the Google Assistant and gifts, which I guess the gift part was supposed to be to kind of mimic what Messenger, Apple iMessage had with the whole animated gifs. I still don't understand the whole purpose of Allo. To me, Hangouts would have been the better solution. You had one single app to roll them all.
Yeah, I pretty much gave up on trying to get people to use Allo, and I think it's one friend of mine and my wife that use it. And the problem, I thought it was great that my wife was using it, but the problem is a lot of times when she messages me and I'm at work, I don't have any way to access it on my computer. It's only on one device.
Yeah.
And that I know they've shown, it's coming to the desktop at some point in a web browser, but how long has Allo been out? It's been like 4 or 5 months, right?
Yeah. Have they fixed the issue? My biggest issue why I just gave up on it was it requiring you to have phone numbers for people.
No, I don't think they will fix it. It's because of the new protocol they're using. And I don't think they will.
I mean, to me, that was my biggest fail for me. When Hangouts kind of adapted from Google Chat, I already had all of these contacts that I accumulated over half a decade. And it seamlessly went over in Hangouts. So I just kept using them. Now you're going to tell me I have to go find these people who I may have chatted with on a day-to-day basis, never got a cell phone number from because I didn't need to, because that was the whole point of using chat back in the day, so you didn't use your text before the days of unlimited text. And I have to go ask them for their text just to keep talking to them. To me, that's stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, that just makes me not want to use your app.
Yup.
So I know you've already had this, always talked about using the filtering and muting features for the non-stock Twitter apps. But apparently Twitter has finally decided to get on board, I guess, to fight harassment and things of that sort. They're now going to be adding filters and muting functions in the stock app. You think that will actually have you use the stock app?
Yeah, I mean, that's nice. I've noticed that there is some mutes available on the web, and I use Flamingo as my primary Android client, and somehow it's syncing those back to Twitter. So, unfortunately, my tweet bot on my Mac doesn't take advantage of that, but those are out there already, I think, on the web, and that's handy. I mean, there's stuff I don't care about hearing people's political opinions for the most part. I don't want to argue about it, and so being able to mute a lot of that is super helpful for me.
We just save those for Skype calls, right, Clay?
I said for the most part.
But yeah, I hear you. I mean, I'm still using Talon. To me, it's worked well for what I've needed. I don't really mute much, but I don't usually go out and look for stuff. I mean, I'll listen for what the people that I follow and kind of scroll through to see if there's something interesting. But there's days where unless it's something that pops up under my notifications, I may not really check it as much as I used to. And so I guess if I get more free time, I may go back to needing the filters and things of that sort. But like you said, the politics stuff, at some point you're just tired of hearing about it. Or when it's Miss America time and you have people tweeting everything and anything about it, I'm just like, I don't care.
Yeah, at this point, I don't care.
And I might need it when Game of Thrones comes back, just so if I haven't watched the episode yet, I don't have to worry about it getting spoilers.
Yep.
So kind of moving into top stories, kind of a big one. Google announced YouTube TV, which is going to be their take on streaming TV service. And it's looking like it's going to start at about $35 a month. I believe what is it? 40 networks now for the 35.
Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately, they weren't all networks that I wanted to watch. So going to kind of hold off on it, but
yeah, because for me, there were a few networks that I do watch weren't there. I will say one thing that's nice because I'm still locked in. I picked it up just for now to try it out, and more for my brother-in-law to use it. The DirecTV Now, and one thing I will say on this versus DirecTV Now, obviously DirecTV Now has way more channels, but this one has all the locals, which is a big deal.
Yep. Cool.
But I mean, it'll be interesting. I think competition will be good for all of us as consumers. The more options that are out there, the more chances we're going to get something good for a good price.
Yep.
So kind of from Mobile World Congress, we talked about I haven't really seen much out of it that just, I was like, ooh. Although Samsung has introduced a new Gear VR, and this one will have a controller, which addresses some of the issues people had with the Daydream View versus the Gear VR. And so this one will have a controller, which I think is a good step in the right direction so that you have more of a ubiquitous experience no matter what VR you use. So, I mean, I think that's a good one. I think we're still far away. I was actually talking to a friend at work, one of my coworkers. He has the HTC Vive, and he brought it up at Christmas for a holiday party, and we got to check it out. That's the one with like the lasers that set up in your room and everything for the computer. Mm-hmm. And basically what I told him is, to me, what I envision at some point would be the perfect VR would be a headset that has its built-in monitor itself, and it just contacts your phone for data. That way you get rid of the screen door effect, because then it would be a built-in screen versus trying to put in a screen. No matter what resolution, you're still going to get a screen door effect unless you get super uber mega pixels.
Agreed.
Plus, that would probably make it lighter and it would keep it from overheating like we have now. Because I don't know if you played around much with your Daydream View?
Yeah, I have. And it's great. I usually use it just when I'm in bed because I can stare at the ceiling with it and be more comfortable. But yeah, I mean, I would use it more if the resolution were better. And I think the problem is kind of twofold. One, the way that the phone fits in there and the way it has to scale down the images. That's why you're seeing the pixels, because you're magnifying the screen and you're not looking at half of the screen with each eye. You're probably looking at only a quarter of the screen.
Yeah. And I mean, at first I was wondering if it was a big difference because I had the smaller the pixel, but from what I can tell, the way it's set up digitally, there is no real difference as far as the screen door effect for either of those.
Right.
It's just, I think your viewing angle is a little more with the XL.
Yep.
So kind of going back to my, I don't want to say bitch, but my complaint about Allo, with Hangouts, Google had kind of announced that they were going to look at developing Hangouts in a more of an enterprise way. And now we have it. It's going to be called Meet by Google Hangouts. It's a G Suite app for enterprise users, basically as a conference call thing, and conference video, go to meeting type situation. Great for the enterprise people, but how about we get some better support for Hangouts and just ditch this whole Allo?
Yeah, I agree.
But I also found it kind of interesting that they're kind of going back with this whole weird naming structure where it's not just like Meet, it's Meet by Google Hangouts, because I mean it would be too hard to just say Meet.
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, I mean that's what was the one with the Hangout, not Hangouts, with the Chromecast. It was now with Chromecast or with Google Cast or something.
Yeah, it was a big naming cluster. Google Cast, Chromecast.
Yeah, Google Cast with Chromecast or Cast by Google Chromecast or something. Just give me a simple name.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand trademarking things. Just get creative. I mean, your parent company is Alphabet. You can come up with something better.
Right.
So to get to your complaint from earlier this week, or I guess what was it, last week?
It was last Thursday about 6:00.
So apparently Google was having an account sign-in issue, which initially apparently it was affecting Android, but the main people we heard were OnHub and Google Wi-Fi users, which, as I told you, was weird because I didn't have any issues, although I only had the single unit. But why don't you let the listeners know what you experienced?
Well, so essentially what happened is first I got a notification on my device that I needed to sign, a problem had occurred and I needed to sign back into my account, my Google account. And I thought, that's really weird. So I signed back in, and then I noticed that one of my Google Wi-Fi upstairs was blinking. I think it was blue. And then I lost internet. And I was right in the middle of uploading this 1 gigabyte file that I had just finished. I was photoshopping a sign for my car show that I was supposed to be in the next day, and I needed to get it printed. So I was in a time crunch. It was like halfway done. And then, so anyway, so I didn't really have time to fool with it right away, but I did a quick Google search and found that some other people were having the same issue. And there was a post on Google's Wi-Fi site that said, we're investigating, just hang tight. In the meantime, if you need internet access, you should be able to just use the default username and password on the bottom. And so I got my stuff squared away as far as what I needed to do. And I was still scrambling because I had a car show the next day and I had a bunch of stuff I had to finish packing and cleaning and whatnot. So about 9 o'clock, they post back and say, we've determined what the issue is. Unfortunately, you're going to have to reset up your device or devices. And now some people were like, no big deal. I just, did it in 5 minutes sitting on the couch. Well, I'm not one of those people. I have all kinds of home automation stuff. I have a bunch of static IP addresses for different devices on my network. I have, some port forwards to be able to use certain apps remotely. I mean, there's about 60 or 70 devices that run on my network at any time. And all of those have to be renamed. And it's just a huge thing. So just to get back to where I was before this happened, it took me until about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
It sucked. And the problem is there's no backup within the Google Wi-Fi app or anything to save your settings. Like any 10-year-old Linksys router lets you save your settings.
So let me guess. At some point about 1 o'clock, you were seriously thinking about a Nighthawk, weren't you?
Yeah, I have one sitting over. Well, not a Nighthawk, but I have my old Asus, whatever it is, AC67.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why am I doing this? But so essentially, what happened is the Google Home. No, I keep getting all these confused. The Google Wi-Fi ran into an error with the Google account engine. And the way they told me it was a bug when I talked to him today, but the way it works is it thought that it was being hacked. And so it basically self-destructed. So it factory reset itself to save my network from getting hacked.
So this is kind of the situation where Skynet inadvertently sends off the nukes.
Pretty much, yeah.
Gee.
And so it was just a huge cluster. And the fact that I wasn't prepared, I mean, I could have at least screenshotted like what IP addresses went to what and what port forwards I had. I had to go and figure all that out because I've got my doorbell, I've got my thermostat, I've got my cameras and all the other stuff. I've got two HD home run cable card tuners that are networked. The TV wouldn't even work. I'm like,
that's a travesty.
You've got to be kidding me. And all I kept hearing, Dad, this won't work. My blah, blah. I'm like, shut up.
And again, all at a time that you're at a crunch trying to get something done.
Right. I mean, I was like, that was the busiest I'd been at home trying to get stuff done. And I was like almost to a point of panic. And then, yeah, it was.
So let me just set this aside and recreate my network.
Pretty much. My wife's like, about midnight, she's like, I got to get to bed.
Speaking of printouts, isn't that what's behind you?
Yeah, that's one of them. I've got another one for the other car, but.
Why don't you let the listeners know how you did?
Oh, me? I mean, well, you can see that right there and right there. So I won both my classes. So that was an awesome weekend.
No thank you to Google.
No thank you to Google. I was a bit sleep deprived. I've been sleep deprived now all week because I just can't seem to catch up. If you're a parent, you just never get any sleep. But what you do get is a whole lot of mileage behind the wheel of your car. You're driving your kids everywhere.
I can attest to that. Even though I have no kids, I basically babysat my oldest two nieces for the weekend last weekend. So.
Oh, bless you.
So, I mean, hopefully they fix this, which is I kind of find it interesting that it's an error. This is kind of like up along those with Amazon saying, oops, we broke the internet because it was a human error typo. I don't know if you saw that. They found out what the issue was with all those websites going down. It was a freaking typo.
Yeah, one of the sites we use Career Builder a lot for the workforce planning stuff I do at work, and they were down. Like, oops.
It was like almost 2/3 of the internet was down in the US because everybody uses that. Although, as somebody pointed out, maybe that's a good example of why we maybe need to fix that and have some redundancies.
You would think.
Because I mean, it only takes one thing to go down, and everything's down.
Yep, pretty much. That's a
So,
good learning opportunity for whoever fat fingered that one.
I have a feeling they're not getting a promotion.
Yeah.
They might get promoted to the unemployment line. Or better, actually, you know what I would do? I wouldn't fire them. I'd make them handle all the customer calls to respond to that. Let them be the one to deal with every single one of them.
I don't know. All the IT people I've dealt with, you certainly don't want them on the front lines of talking to your customers.
Or at least just let them be the one to get yelled at. Can we bring back like the pillar in the stocks? Speaking of good news, and I'll let you take this one because I know you'd put it into the show notes about what we've kind of confirmed is coming this year.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know, maybe the second version of something.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. So Rick Osterloh, who used to be at Motorola and is now over the Pixel brand, I think, has confirmed that we're getting a Pixel 2 later this year. And it's going to stay premium, which is a good thing. I mean, honestly, I'm super thrilled with this device, and there's not a whole lot they could do for me. Possibly shorten the top and bottom bezels and give me stereo speakers and some water resistance. And I only say that because I don't need water resistance. I'm just tired of hearing the blogs complain about it.
Yeah.
So shut up and here's your water resistance.
Although what's kind of interesting is I was reading some stories today on the IP rating that in test, people have tested it, that it's actually seems to be more water resistant and dust resistant than that rating suggests. So almost like it's a conservative rating versus what it really is. But I mean, my biggest pet peeve with that is it's not so much the complaints, but given that we're in 2017 and we've had the technology since at least 2012 to make your device pretty much water resistant, all the way down to dunking it and just letting it sit there with the Liquipel and stuff when it first came out, there's no excuse not to have a high IP rating on anything that it's a high-end consumer device at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they just ran out of time on this one. And, you know, I mean, for a device that they kind of scrambled to get together, and let's be honest, the software really makes the device what it is, which is amazing. But I can't wait for the next one. I'm definitely a buyer for the next one too.
Have they kind of rumored who will be putting it out?
Nope.
It'd be interesting. I mean, because I mean, like you pointed out, the scrambling, the news that came out that Huawei was supposed to originally be it, but there were some issues because of the issues with the 6P. They backed out at the last minute, and so we got basically a refurb of the HTC 10 for hardware wise.
Yeah, and I had heard that Huawei didn't want to do it because they wouldn't have their name anywhere, and it really didn't buy them anything. They didn't want to become an ODM again. While HTC, I mean, how many devices did we have from HTC before we knew who they were? Because there was other names on the devices. So I don't know who it will be, but I'm excited, and like I said, I'm going to buy it unless there's something they could. I mean, let's be honest. I bought the 6P and it was ugly.
I wouldn't say ugly, but yeah.
Well, remember
it was very simplistic.
The visor when it first came out, and we were posting all those pictures from Futurama.
I will say this: as far as the Nexus phones go, I still think the one that I found the sexiest was probably the 4.
Yep,
with the glass back and everything. To me, I liked it.
Yeah, I did too. Now, as far as the Pixel, I mean, we're still selling the hell out of those stickers. So I love that it doesn't have the light bar, but it does. So maybe they could just leave that off for the next one too.
Just keep selling.
Yeah, be rich.
Although the Pixel, I'm really interested in it. I'd like to see a replacement for the Pixel C. I'm
still happy with the Pixel C, but yeah, I could go for a replacement.
to me, I mean, seems to be the big thing is Samsung's coming back into the market, Microsoft with the Surface, and Apple with the iPad Pro series. Stylus support is a big deal now for people who want it. And I've said it from the beginning. If you give me an active digitizer with a stylus on a C, it's the perfect tablet for me. But I mean, if they're going to keep not having it, I might actually have to consider getting an iPad, just because for what I do, I really need a tablet that I can take good notes on when I'm going from meeting to meeting. It saved me from killing a lot of trees.
Yeah, that's true.
But we'll see. I mean, Samsung's pushing it back with their new the Tab A, and now with the new Galaxy Tab that they've announced at Mobile World Congress with style support. And the iPad's supposed to have 3. They're going to now have a mini iPad Pro apparently. So they'll have that now. Hopefully Microsoft will bring back their Surface tablets, because to me, I didn't want the Pro. To me, I don't want a PC. I just want a tablet that has a good stylus, and the Surface would have been perfect, but I refuse to buy ancient technology.
Yeah.
But speaking of ancient things coming back, it seems like every carrier now, starting with T-Mobile and now in gasp, even Verizon, has brought back unlimited data plans.
It's interesting that they kept saying that they weren't sustainable as an option and they were forcing people off of them and blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, they're back.
Although the key with it, I think, is because it's the Dr. Evil unlimited data plan.
Yeah. 22 gigabytes. That's why 22.
Although I will say this, for the Verizon one, I used to always say they're going to have to pry my grandfather data out of my cold, dead hands. I actually switched, shockingly enough. I did the math and looked at it. My most data I've ever used in a month outside of a hurricane was, I think, 10 to 11 gigs total, even with tethering. And so to me, the Verizon plan made more sense. It was going to save me $30-40 a month, made it easier to add a tablet if I wanted, because it's only $10 a month and it gets its own unlimited data. And to add new lines, it would be easier than trying to deal with an old plan that costs more. And so I switched over. The 22 gigs, and what's good is 22 gigs, they don't cut you off. They don't charge you more money. All they do, which to me, this is actually better than the AT&T one, because AT&T, they said when you get to 22, we're crushing you down to like 2G. What Verizon has basically said is, once you get to 22 gigs, we're going to do kind of like T-Mobile. If you're on a congested tower, we just bump you priority-wise to the back of the line. And for those with Google Wi-Fi, you know exactly what that is, because you can set your priorities. So that if you get away from a congested tower, you're back to full 4G, no issues, even though you've gone over your 22 gigs. They're also going to let you have up to 10 gigs tethered at 4G speeds. Once you get to 10 gigs, they're going to bump you to 3G. To me, that's reasonable. I mean, you can pay to get more. I believe the idea is you can gift yourself some more tethering if you need more at 4G. But for the average person, that's way more than even like I am a high data user, I would argue, in some cases, because connecting everything up. And even I don't use that much. So to me, it was a no-brainer to switch over. Because I mean, I think now because of discounts, because when I switched over, this bill is going to be like the cheapest bill I've had in ages, like 60-something bucks. But it looks like I'm going to go from like 140 a month to like a little under 100.
Yeah, I'm looking at the stuff for AT&T. They don't actually say that they will throttle you absolutely after 22 gig. What they say is that they may slow your speeds.
So I guess they kind of have to, now that everybody else is kind of going with that language. If it's really only the reason we can't give you true unlimited is because we might have congestion issues, and we want to kind of keep somebody who's using like 200 gigs, which still blows my mind. Somebody using 200 gigs on a phone, even using tethering.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I didn't jump on this right away was they didn't have any tethering for AT&T. Now they have 10 gigs. But We have a 40 gig plan, or we have a 20 gig plan that they doubled the data a while back, and we
Mhm.
just kept that. And then it's got rollover. So we generally have at least 40 gigs, sometimes 50 or 60. And we've not gotten close to that except when we're on vacation and I let the kids to, do whatever they want to do. We can use all that data to tether too. So
Yeah.
that's nice when we're out and they've got their tablets or whatever. So for now, I'm probably going to stick with where I am. It's about the same price with the 4 lines we have, but I'm going to keep an eye. And one of the nice things is I don't have a contract on any of our devices, so we could switch anywhere we wanted at any time, and it wouldn't really matter.
Yeah, that's the good thing with mine. And the lady I talked to at Verizon, because I wanted to confirm, because at one point we talked about adding an extra line to mine for my brother-in-law to try out, because they were been having issues with Sprint, but who apparently now they don't have issues because they upgraded their LTE. Um, but so I checked with her, and she said basically unless you get a subsidized line to get the subsidized price when you open a new line, or if you have a device payment plan, which the payment plan would continue regardless, you can basically cancel your extra lines because it's month to month, just like you said. As long because if you BYOD, which I've got like the 6P, I could just throw on as an extra line. If I needed to add a line, I can drop it anytime I want.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And the fact that, if you have your own devices, then you don't have to pay any extra money. And I mean, probably the best move I ever made was starting to buy unlocked devices that didn't have a contract,
Mm-hmm.
because I can flip them for, generally they flip for about half to 3/4 of what I paid for them. And so every year now I'm only buying myself 1 or 2 devices a year. Um, and so it doesn't really cost a whole lot to keep up on the latest stuff. The wife and kids, I mean, my wife is still on her 6P, which she got for Christmas over a year ago. And so, that's helpful too, especially since all the devices we have support all 4 carriers. So we've got plenty of choices if we decide we were going to pick up and move.
Yeah, and to me, that's another reason why the Pixel line, and before that, the Nexus line was such great, because you can do that and it's already unlocked because they never lock it.
Yep.
But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, so far it's been great, knock on wood, the new Verizon Unlimited for me. And I think the good thing is you can see each of them have slowly tweaked their plans because they're trying to compete now, which is good.
Yep. And I'm going to probably stick on AT&T because we're supposed to be getting their fiber here pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
The 1 GB stuff, a gigabit. And so I'll be switching to that hopefully, and getting rid of Charter/Spectrum, who just took over my local cable carrier.
And drops you to 1% of what you're supposed to get.
Yeah, they're awful. I mean, well, awful doesn't really describe. Awful is like when you're driving down the road and you have your mouth open a little bit and a mosquito flies in. The Charter's like you wake up and there's a roach crawling in your ear and you can't get it out, and you like feel it rubbing around in your brain, and it just like gives you this terrible feeling and you just want to throw up.
You just see like the old stereotypical old 30s silent film bad guy with the handlebar mustache handing out 50 dial-up modems.
I mean, they essentially, as soon as they took over, the first thing that Spectrum did was got rid of the 300 meg plan, and they replaced it with the 65 meg plan. That's all you can get if you aren't grandfathered in.
Wow.
It is so ridiculous. I mean, they're just the worst, and I can't wait to get rid of them.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm on a 300. They had to increase it, but I was like, I'm not really seeing an increase in my speeds. Is it just maybe my node is not good or something like that? Well, then I realized I was looking around on Cox's website today and realized, yeah, it's probably because my modem is ancient. It was one of the first DOCSIS 3.0s, and it doesn't support the newer speeds. So I ordered Eris, the surfboard, the 8200. They just announced it 2 days ago. It was pre-ordered, but it's already showing that it's getting ready to ship soon. Went ahead and bought it. It's the first their first DOCSIS 3.1, so it should support almost a full 300 megs. So it should be nice.
Wow.
I'll remember you in your, what was it, 3 megs is what you were getting on your speed test earlier.
Pretty much.
Instead of 3, and you are grandfathered at 300.
Yep.
Which is sad. Speaking of AT&T, kind of a random tech moment. Chevy and AT&T have come out with the OnStar stuff. They're going to be allowing you an unlimited in-car hotspot for $20 a month. And again, it's the unlimited. It's not confirmed, but it's pretty sure it's going to be probably the same 22 gig limit before they throttle you potentially. But if you're somebody who has a Chevy vehicle that has the OnStar Wi-Fi hotspot capability, can't beat $20 a month to be able to basically have Wi-Fi, unlimited Wi-Fi in your car, especially if you have kids.
That is pretty nice.
So, and it kind of replaces kind of what was expensive. I think it was 10 gig plans where you got 10 gigs, I think, for like $50 or something like that. So for $20 a month, not bad.
Yeah.
So it's one of those that if you're kind of on the fence on whether to get a Chevy or a Ford, that might be a reason to go. So getting to better news, exciting news, and I'll let you kind of let our listeners in on this. We got something that's we're bringing back.
Yeah, I mean, the simulcast is coming back. So if you've missed Patrick and I, along with some other people sitting around talking about tech, not just Android stuff, but other things, you're in for a treat because our first show is next week, right?
Yes, next Wednesday.
Yeah, we've got Brian Feldhaus and we have Donnie Benfield joining us. You'll recognize those guys from some of the other shows on the network.
And they've both been on the simulcast before.
Yep. And so we're excited about it. It's going to be, what are we doing every
once a month,
every other week? We're going to be doing a podcast, right?
Pretty much.
The AXP or the simulcast. So you're going to get 2 shows a month out of Patrick and I, and should be pretty regular. We're expecting it to be anyway. So if one of us can't make it, the rest of us will hopefully pick up the slack. So we're excited about it. You may have seen there's a new logo. It's an updated logo and it looks really nice. It's still kind of in keeping with what we did, but looks a little more like the logos that match the rest of the network. So we're super excited to be bringing it back, and hopefully it won't be quite as much work on us to get the show out and get it to you. We're still going to be doing Hangouts on air, so you'll be able to watch it live or watch it from a recording. And we're excited to start getting some emails too. So if you got any questions or comments for the simulcast at gmail.com is where you send those. And if you want to be on the first show as one of our listener emails, go ahead and get those into us quick, like super quick.
And we haven't got it finalized yet, but we may occasionally bring in some blasts from the past from the previous hosts. So,
oh yeah, we're already working on that.
Yeah.
We've already set the traps, and they're going for it.
We've set off the simulcast signal.
Yes.
And I think it'll be great. A chance to be part of the Tech Side Network, fill in some niches. Like Bill said, not just Android, but focusing on general tech, kind of the roundtable discussions like we used to have, what we're listening, watching, and reading, as well as just other areas of technology that we kind of delved into. I know, Bill, you do a lot of the stuff with the cars, not just automotive, but like the RC car type racing cars. And I know at one point with drones, and I think Donnie was doing drones at one point too, wasn't he?
Oh, he still ate up with it. Yeah. So there's a lot of cool tech stuff that doesn't necessarily revolve around Android, and we'll be really excited to start to talk about some of that again, and that'll give us an outlet. I've been playing around with more home theater stuff, and maybe give you some ideas on ways to save some money with that, and spend some money too. But but yeah, I mean, hopefully that dialogue will be every bit as good as what it was before. I mean, we've got 4 great people on the show, and we'll have plenty more guests as we move along.
So I think the word to say is we back.
That's right. We back, bitches.
So kind of moving into our picks. So what do you got for us, Bill?
So mine, and this is kind of we'll talk about this more on the simulcast, but HD Home Run beta. So if you remember way back, I talked about the HD Home Run probably 3 or 4 years ago. It's a cable card tuner that lets you use a cable card from the cable company and get live TV. You can get live encrypted channels even. So that's nice. Well, they've got a new beta. And the new beta allows you to actually do recording as well. So you can set up on your network either a computer or a network attached storage, and you can record with only the HD Home Run and the network attached storage. And they have an Xbox One app so that you can watch and record live TV. So super excited about that. I've been having home theater PC problems for, like 5 or 6 months, it seems like. And I thought it was my tuner that was in my computer. So I bought the HD Home Run. I think it's something with the computer itself. And so rather than go out and buy another $700 or $800 home theater PC or build one, I decided to give this a shot. And so you'll love this, Patrick. So my wife's 2009 MacBook Pro, they're not supporting it anymore. They're not going to update Mac. So I have boot camped it. And because the HD Home Runs are networked and not internal, I can use those as the tuners on Windows Media Center on the MacBook Pro.
Nice.
So I've got six total channels that we can use for that. The HD Home Run beta, they have an Android app as well. So you can actually pull it up on your device. Let me pull it up real quick and I'll show you. And the nice thing is it only uses the tuner for as long as you have it pulled up. So once you're done, it releases that tuner for another device. So you could theoretically have 5 different devices on your network using it for different purposes, and it doesn't have to be stuck in one particular machine like the old setup. It's like here. So they've got a nice interface, and I can go through here. Can you all see that? Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
And I can go through and see what's going on. Let me turn the volume down. Got a record button at the bottom. And I can actually record this on one of the computers or on the NAS and then play it back.
Nice.
So super nice. I mean, the HD Home Run is about $100. $2 a month is what I pay for each cable card from the cable company. And then whatever the normal charge is for the service.
I may have to look into that. I'm curious to see how that works out for you, because I've been wanting to ditch the cable boxes I have through my cable, and I looked at possibly TiVo, but this might actually be a better solution for me.
Yeah, the Xbox One app works very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
It's still in beta, so some of the DVR stuff isn't quite there yet.
Mm-hmm.
You can't DVR shows on encrypted channels. So like Fox Sports 1 is an encrypted channel for me. They're working on that. You can actually watch all of the channels on Xbox One. So you just launch the app and it comes right up, and you can switch channels and all that stuff. So for essentially, Patrick, you could be in probably $250 if you bought the HD Home Run and the network attached storage that they recommend.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you have to have running is those 2 things. You don't have to have any computer at all.
Yeah.
So it should be pretty cool. And the beta to enable the DVR thing, I think was $60 for 1 year of service, but that year of service won't start until they actually release the final product.
I mean, even at 60, that's still cheaper than the 140 something you pay for TiVo for their service in a year.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, that's something I may keep my eyes on. I may still pick up the TiVo in the short term because worst case, my dad may be moving back to Lake Charles at some point. I can just give him the TiVo as something simple for him to just set up, and
Yeah,
then
I've
have
seen
this
those
up.
Romeos for pretty reasonable amounts.
Yeah, the thing that I don't like, I actually looked at the Bolt Plus.
Yep.
The problem with the Bolt Plus though is you get way more storage, but you give up over the air ability for if you want to record like local channels over OTA. So to me, that's kind of jacked up considering it's very limited in the supportability for external SATA storage.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping maybe they'll retract on that. But I mean, the Plus to me for six tuners to me and 3 terabytes, that's better than what I've got now for Cox with their Record 6. So, and it would be cheaper because I wouldn't be paying for a rental plus their record DVR service. I'd just be paying the $149 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I may pull the trigger on that, but I will be definitely be keeping an eye out, especially on the simulcast too. I may have some questions for you as you kind of go through that. That may ultimately be my solution is the home run beta.
Looking forward to talking about it more.
So my pick, and kind of changed it on the fly here, and some of the stuff I may kind of talk about on simulcast. I've been really getting into Raspberry Pi and some of the things projects you can do with it. I don't know if have you had a chance to really play with your RetroPie?
I've been playing with it a little bit. I've been super short on spare time to tinker.
Yeah, because like recreating your network.
Yeah, and that reminds me, I think they've got some kind of an app for the Raspberry Pi too.
There may be for the Open Elect or Libra Elect for the Kodi. There's probably an app that you can use because
that's what it is. Because there's a plugin for Kodi to let you do that as well.
Sweet, because my pick is called the Remote Pi. It's an add-on board for the RetroPie, and it lets you manage power as well as adding an IR port to your board so that you can use a remote, especially if you're using it for Kodi, to control everything from a remote, from turning it on to accessing menus and your stuff on Kodi. It basically allows you to have an IR port. I have the basic one, which just basically I had to put it in a acrylic case so that it could everything could be accessible. They also make one where you can have an external IR port and LED as well as an external power button, so that regardless of what kind of case you're using or setup, you can actually integrate that. To me, the power button I actually thought about would be cool because I thought about if you get an old arcade case, just put a Pi in there and you could probably run most of what you'd want to play anyway.
Yep.
And you wouldn't have to worry about it overheating. I think you got a guest. But to me, it was interesting because the power button, you can actually, the external one would fit perfectly like in a wooden case because it's a lit LED button.
Oh, cool.
But I'm going to play around with it, try to see. I think I'm going to set this one up. I've still got my RetroPie one set up, but I think I'm going to set up one with like Libra Elect or Open Elect and try to set up as a Kodi player, which might be a good thing to test out at some point with Home Run.
Yeah, definitely.
And well, the cool thing too is if you have like a Fire Stick, you can sideload Kodi on that, so you probably could use it for that too.
Yeah, I do have that. That I use that a lot when I'm watching sporting events. It's easier to just throw that in wherever I am, or take it with me when I travel. I used to take a big old laptop and stuff with the HDMI cable and all that crap. Now I just take the Fire Stick and plug it in, and I can tether off my phone.
Yeah,
fantastic.
I mean, to me that, and even to some degree the Chromecast, but to me the Fire Stick, I like the remote functionality, so I don't have to use my phone the whole time.
Yeah, I do too.
But yeah, I mean, I think the Remote Pi is going to be interesting. To me, it's even without the IR function, one of the biggest problems people sometimes have with the Raspberry Pi, especially for RetroPies, is adding some inline functionality for turning off and on. Well, this basically has a script, so when you push the button, it runs a script to do a safe shutdown, which to me is pretty cool.
That's really cool.
So let's let everybody know where we can reach us.
I'm easy to find. Just find me on all the social media at Bill Stebbins.
I mean, he is Bill the Internet Stebbins.
Find me at the simulcast next week.
Woohoo! You can find me on Twitter at LSU Law 2009. Find me at AXP as well as the simulcast. I'm assuming our simulcast email still work, huh, Bill?
It does.
Awesome.
Yep. And so does our Twitter account. That will be tap, tap, tap. Is this thing on?
Awesome.
Yep.
So again, thank you for listening, and you can find us simply by searching for AndroidXperience or TechSide in your podcast client of choice, or you can subscribe to our show in Google Play Music or iTunes. Please take the time to leave us a review and comment. Alternatively, we have a link for our non-Google Play and iTunes listeners you can find right here in our show notes. We also have a Patreon page. This gives our dedicated and loyal listeners an opportunity to support this podcast as well as the rest of the podcasts on the network for as little as $1 a month. If you'd like to support us, visit our support page at patreon.com/techside. You can leave us a comment at Twitter at AXP Podcast or email the network at axp@techside.net. Check out our website at techside.net/AXP, and also be sure to check out all of our other great podcasts, blogs, photo galleries, and the TechSide store on techside.net, including the simulcast. We thank you all for listening. Goodbye and good night.
Good night.